Dan, pretty hot conditions. I dare say the last couple of months of preparation, is this kind of what it's also been about? Making sure everyone's got it fit. It's going to be pretty hot the entire week.
Yeah, well, we obviously had our camp in Darwin, which was a little bit warm as well. But the most important thing for us is that we're preparing well and we're improving every time we go into the field, and I think we're seeing that. So we're seeing the group get tighter. We're seeing ourselves adapt better under fatigue and under pressure. So there's a real feeling in the group that we're growing, and obviously we're going into a new phase now. So we're about to start the World Cup, which is what we've been preparing for over the past few months. So I think we're at a pretty good point, regardless of the weather. I think that like I said, we're becoming tighter. I think we're adapting well, and the players are really starting to own how we want to play the game. So I think we're in a good position going into this game.
Can you just give us an update in terms of injury-wise? Like who's available, who's not available this week?
Well, Slips has obviously got a little niggle with his foot, but he's coming good. So we've seen him kind of progress this week. Obviously not into full training yet, but progressing well. Same story with Petaia, I think. Who else do we need to talk about there? Is there anyone specific?
There's Karevi. He's sort of been up and down. Is he likely to play?
He's been on the field. So the team hasn't been named yet, but he's been training. So, yep. Same story. So he's been training with us. He's training really well. So some really good signs. He hasn't missed a beat since he got into camp. Obviously a young guy, but he's thrown himself into it and he's been training really well.
Given how forward and set piece focused Georgia seem to be, or at least that's where their real strength is, how important is your role and the other coaches in that department this week for preparing the team?
Yeah, well, obviously scrum and maul set piece is a traditional strength of Georgia, but I think what we've seen over the past period of time is they've actually grown their game. So they're a good counter-attack team. They're a good contestable kicking team. Obviously, they've grown their game over the more recent past, where they're now, I think, in their highest world ranking position. Currently, recently beaten Wales and Italy, I think. So they're a strong team. They're not just a set piece team anymore. They've added strings to their bow, and we're preparing for that.
Talk about improvements and getting better each day. What do you think needs to be sort of shown on the field this weekend to really turn that promise into results?
Yeah, well, I think over the past few months, we have seen improvements in every game we've played, and I think the last thing we'll see is the scoreboard tick over. So, like I said earlier, as long as we're improving every time we take the field, whether that's a game or whether that's for training, that's what we're aiming at, and I think we'll see those results on the scoreboard soon.
I guess for yourself, what does it mean for you to be here at a World Cup coaching and soaking it all in when you're 3 or 4 days away from that game?
Yeah, it's obviously an incredible experience. This is where everybody wants to be, players and coaches in Australia. You want to be coaching at the highest level. This is obviously the premier competition in our game. This is where everybody wants to be, so I'm stoked about that. But my focus day to day is doing what's best for the team and trying to do my job as well as I can. So I'll worry about that another day.
Do you feel like the team's ready? Like Eddie's been saying recently that everything's happened pretty quick and there's a bit of a change around tactics and selection, but 4 days out, you feel like you're ready now for a World Cup?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like I said, the impression within the group is that we're growing every time we go into the field. We certainly feel like we're getting tighter as a team, and we're in a good position to start the World Cup. Obviously, we've got our pool rounds where we'll continue to grow, and we want to be hitting our straps kind of later in the competition. So I think we're in a good position. We're at a good starting point now, but we need to continue to be really diligent on how we grow our game over the next period of time.
A lot of players and coaches have said that they're seeing improvement in this group. Do you have to pick a couple of areas where you think that's really tangible?
Say that again, mate, sorry.
A lot of players and coaches spoke about improvement in the group, right?
Yep.
Can you just give us a couple of areas where you think that is?
Well, I think the scrum on the weekend was a really good example. I think that, if you take the first game against South Africa to how the scrum performed against a French scrum on the weekend, which is a fairly dominant pack, I think there's substantial improvement there. I also think like I said earlier, I think the players are starting to own how we want to play the game, and they're starting to shape sort of our game framework and how we're going to approach the game. So I think an important thing to note now is that the way we play the game and what we put on the field is really starting to be driven from within the group, and that's a big step forward for us.
Talking a lot about improving being the main focus. Is there any sense, again with the squad here, that it's a bit of a free hit this World Cup? Is there any feeling of that in the group?
No. I don't see the World Cup as a free hit. I mean, we're here to impose ourselves on every team we come up against, and I think we're in a good position to do that. I mean, we plan on going deep into this competition.
How much of that training has been about peaking now, and even not necessarily now, but in 4 weeks' time as well? Like, you guys have been flogging the players for quite a while. Was it only on Saturday, which was pretty much the end of that kind of in-season, pre-season?
Yeah, I mean, we've been working really hard up until this point because we've had to. Like, we've had a new group, a young group. We've had to work hard on areas of our game, work hard on our capacity, work hard on our ability to adapt, and that is kind of reflected in how we've trained. But now, like I said, we're into a different phase, so we're going into the World Cup now. So the way we prepare is going to shift accordingly.
Is the heat at the moment, can that be a benefit or a weapon for the Wallabies? Like, it's expected to be 30 degrees over the weekend, and being Aussies are used to this sort of weather.
I'm from Canberra, mate, so it's,
for the guys that are out there playing.
Yeah. It's hot in summer. I don't really have an opinion on that. I mean, there's other countries here there's other teams here from pretty hot countries, so I haven't really thought about the weather, to be honest.
Shift to Richie or Jordy? Preference? Jordy? Just pass them on. Thank you. You just leave them there, mate.
Jordan, how are you finding playing 13? You sort of moved around that back line throughout the years. How are you finding 13?
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's going well. Yeah.
Do you think more needs to be done on the attack or defence side? But obviously, it's a very tricky channel to defend there. Like, how do you think that's going?
More work needs to be done on that.
Like, you're working more in
From
attack?
from a team's perspective, or are you talking from?
As a 13 in this back line.
Oh yeah. What do I reckon needs to be done?
Say, like,
Sorry.
do you think you're devoting more time in attack as a 13 or defence? Like,
I'd say it's pretty even both sides. I'm working on both sides of training. Yeah.
Johnny,
Yeah.
can you tell us about, like 4 years ago you made your debut and you ended up at 13 for that quarter-final?
Yeah.
How much further, 4 years later, how much further do you think you've progressed as a player? And do you feel more comfortable now at a World Cup, having already been at the previous one?
Yeah, I feel like I've gained a lot of experience over the last 4 years since that last World Cup. Obviously, yeah, covered a few different positions over the last few years, so yeah, I feel a lot more comfortable coming into this World Cup. Yeah, especially off the back of an injury again, but I guess not as serious as the last one.
Can you help some of the younger guys? There's a whole bunch that are at their first World Cup, a lot of young players. Can you help some of those younger guys by, with your experience and passing on those little bit of detail?
Yeah, I think I've ridden with Jorgo and Darwin, so it's pretty familiar with this sort of circumstance coming off the back of an injury and yeah, giving him a little bit of guidance there. But obviously he's been smashing it, so he didn't need too much help. But yeah, just lending in where I can to help. But yeah, a lot of these guys here have been in the game for a while as well, so everyone's picking it up as they go as well.
Is there any questions in particular Jorgo had?
Not off the top of my head. There's been a few, but yeah.
He's in the shoes you were in then, in terms of being the youngest. One thing that comes with that is the responsibility of Wally. How big a responsibility is he looking after the mascot? Has he lent on you for some help to make sure he doesn't lose it or end up with any fines for not doing his duties?
Oh, yeah, he's been all right. Wally, I don't think the boys have been too hard on him. Yeah, he had his birthday recently, so that was a good day for him. But yeah, there's not too much Wally business going on actually. Yeah.
Like, making your debut at a World Cup in 2019, what's the biggest lesson, sort of memory that you take out of that experience in Japan?
Probably how he went out in the quarters, I'd say. Yeah, there's a few boys here from the last World Cup as well, just remembering that sour taste. So, yeah, probably the final series was the biggest learning point from the last World Cup.
So does that get mentioned much, in 2019? And for those guys that come back, if that's just sort of savouring this moment and really putting everything into this next sort of 6 to 8 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, Eddie's probably been to the most World Cups out of anyone, so he speaks about savouring and enjoying the experience and making the most out of the cup. And obviously we're here to win it, so yeah, not shying away from that challenge and just enjoying it, making lifelong memories as we go.
You just said that what you remember of the World Cup is going out in the quarterfinals. Like when you were 19, you probably feel like you might go to a few more. But was it a feeling like you felt over the last 4 years since that quarterfinal, or is that like the most devastating feeling that you feel as a player getting knocked out in a World Cup match?
In terms of like what?
In terms of, have you felt like a feeling of disappointment after a match like the one in the Winter 4 years ago?
Oh yeah, I guess it's different when you're at a World Cup. Obviously, it's first World Cup, and the World Cup I've been to. So yeah, losing like that in the finals is, especially when it's probably the only time in your career that you really have those pool stages and the knockout series. Yeah, it's pretty tough, considering you have to wait another 4 years. So, and yeah, many of the boys have said it before. A lot of guys don't get opportunities, so you never know. Maybe your last opportunity, or maybe more. But yeah, just making the most of it when it comes.
And what are some of the differences? Does it feel different from a mental perspective playing a pool match as opposed to a knockout match?
I think we've spoken about it as a group that every match is sort of do or die, so you can't afford to drop too many games. So yeah, a lot of it, every game I'd say is pretty much do or die. Yeah.
What's been your read on Max as a player rising through the ranks? You've seen a little bit of him at Super and in camp. What do you make of him as a player and his sort of potential?
Yeah, Max is unreal player. He's elusive. He's a quick learner, so gets along well with the boys. So it's easy for him to gel in and mix with the boys. So yeah, he's a good player.
As someone who debuted as a teenager, he may get that chance at this World Cup. What advice would you give to him, Joey?
Yeah, I hope he does, and I'd just pretty much say take it full throttle. Yeah, don't hold back, but enjoy it.
Who's the quickest in the back line at the moment?
Oh, probably have to say Marika. It's hard to go past, yeah. Marika.
After Jordy, shoot those across.
Richie, you've played a few matches, a few tests now under your belt. Does it feel a bit different that the World Cup is out of you and what you kind of wanted? You're at that kind of lifetime achievement?
Yeah, woke up on Monday morning and yeah, excited, mate. Yeah, here we are, biggest stage at the World Cup. Yeah, just excited, mate. We're here. All the hard work's done now. We've trained hard for the last 8-9 weeks during the Rugby Championship. Played a few matches there, and we're building. And yeah, it's all coming up to this match. So excited.
Does it legitimately feel quite different, like on a Monday, knowing that it is now the World Cup? Because it has been a good late. Everyone's always talking about it.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, yeah, bit of energy in the group. Yeah, a bit of nerves maybe, but yeah, it's super exciting, mate. Yeah.
You're one of the senior players in the group. Have you worked harder from a training perspective over these couple of months, a few matches along the way as well?
Worked harder. Look, everyone's worked hard. I wouldn't say I've worked harder than anyone else. I think we've all dug in, and there's been some tough sessions. Saturday was one of them. I'm not sure if you were here, but we've been ripping in, and the big thing for us is just under fatigue, training under fatigue, and then making the right decisions. So that's what we've been focusing on. And it's getting better.
And you know what it's like playing in France at this time of year, and then later in campaign it's probably going to get a little bit cooler. Do you think that the playing in the heat, it is supposed to be 30 degrees in Paris on the weekend, do you think that can be something that all these tough sessions on Saturday?
Oh yeah, it'll help, but I think every team's been up here for a while now for the World Cup camps, so they've all probably been exposed to the same heat that we have been. I wouldn't say it's an advantage for us. I think some teams have been here probably longer. So yeah.
Have you had time to reflect on your journey at all? Maybe 12 months ago, might not have even been in your mind that you could be in this situation and playing for the Wallabies and being in the World Cup squad.
Yeah, I have. I think I spoke before about it. That Springbok test coming off the bench there. It's quite emotional there, and I've thought about it over the last few months and that, and spoke to my twin brother, and been a hell of a ride, and it's crazy journey.
What's he had to say? Because I guess quite likely that he was probably more likely 12 months ago that he'd be here as opposed to yourself, and a little flip of the situation. What's he said to support or?
Yeah, me and Roy were really close. I was on the phone with him before. I pick his brain up, and he think he can help you with my game. He's been to a World Cup, so he was there in Japan. Just picking his brain about that. We're really tired, and he's been really helpful with me.
There's a fair Georgian influence in the sort of top 14. What sort of stands out about their players, like common traits and stuff you'll be not worried about, but wary of on Sunday?
Palms alluded to it before. They're obviously physical pack, set piece dominant, scrum, maul. Is going to be important, but they've got a lot of players that play in the top 14. They're 9, they're 15. They're handy players on counter attack. So they knocked off Italy, Wales last year. So you can't underestimate them. If you sleep on them, you'll get stung.
Can you just break it down for? Not many players get to play for Australia. You've had to wait a lot longer. How meaningful is it knowing that if you didn't ever think this was going to come, and the World Cup is here, and you're going to play it? Has it really sunk in how unbelievably special it is and privileged?
It has a little bit, but I probably reflect on it more once it's finished more. The World Cup's finished, sitting back and maybe having a beer and thinking about the last few months. But for now, I haven't really had too much time to think about it, which is probably a good thing for me, to be fair.
Have you noticed any change in Eddie? He's obviously this incredible World Cup record. Have you noticed a change of gears in the way he's been with the squad or anything?
No, not really. Eddie's Eddie. He's he knows what his plan is, and he's quite meticulous on what he does, and he's been good for the group, and he's just, all the players are just buying in, and we trust him, and he's got a plan moving forward, and we've all bought in, and
Is there anything in particular about that session on Saturday that was difficult? Who was early?
I was hurting at the forefront. Tough session, mate, in the heat. Just had to look at my. You see me after the session, I was cooked, but I'll be better for it.
Do you think it's an advantage for you to play in the Stade of France, because you are playing in the French Championship? Do you know it's easier to have your marks on the ground, in the field?
Not so much marks, but I've played there a few times, and sometimes those big stadiums can be a bit intimidating. But last weekend's match, the atmosphere was unbelievable. 80,000 people. if you can't get up for that, I'm not sure what what you can.